really excited about this next guest. I am. From afar, I've been listening to him for a while. My roommate, best friend, Sean Singer from Philadelphia, was always playing this guy on the radio. You got to listen to this broadcaster. You got to listen to him. He's the best in the business, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, Tim Roy is the best. But you know what? Tom McGinnis holds his own. He's been calling Sixer games since 1995. So he called the Iverson era. He's been there through the Iguodala era. Now he's got Joel Embiid and James Harden, and the Sixers come to town at 49-23. 3 games behind the Milwaukee Bucks for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Of course, Embiid's an MVP candidate. But, man, the Sixers, you think about since the All-Star break, Shasky, we're talking about the game of basketball. The Sixers have been involved in so many entertaining games, whether it's the Boston game at the Wells Fargo Center, whether it's them going to Milwaukee and winning the game. The Sixers are in town, and it's going to be hopping tonight. Tom McGinnis on the Morning Roast, the voice of the Philadelphia 76ers. What's up, Tom? How you doing this morning?
Hey, Tom.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. What is the mood? All right, let's start here because I don't know if you heard, but Shasky and I, we went out to Philadelphia for the NFC Championship game, and we did have a very pleasant visit there, of course. Niners lost the game.
Everything was fun.
Everything was fun until the game. Until game
and then
day.
the White Walkers were everywhere.
Right, but so what has the mood been like in Philly since the Super Bowl loss to Kansas City?
Oh, well, that was, that plus the Phillies made it to the World Series and lost. The soccer team made it to the final game and lost to L.A.
Yep.
So that was, those were, in a way, sort of, not the Eagles because they had an outstanding regular season, but, the bridesmaid title came into play right there. But, as far as the Sixers are concerned, the Sixers are in position to compete for a championship. Mm-hmm. And, the vibe is very good. Like the Sixers haven't gotten out of the second round since way back since the Iverson era, as you mentioned, back in 2001. But, this year we have a lot of new pieces with Harden being his first full year and Tucker and on like that, DeAnthony Melton. And so we got off to a bit of a bumpy start. And at one point, the Sixers were 500 at 12-12. But if you take the record from then till now, I guess they might have the best record in the NBA. So they've been playing at a really high clip of late.
All right, so Joel Embiid, he's been a runner-up for the MVP award the last couple of years behind Nikola Jokic. I thought he should have won it last year. I definitely think he should win it this year. 33 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Tom, what's his status for tonight? Do you think he'll give it a go? And what has made him, or what has been different about his game this season compared to the last two?
Well, first of all, as far as the injury, he left the game the other night in Chicago, and Coach said after the game, Doc Rivers said he thought he would play, but Joel is kind of a game-time decision. He's had a lingering foot issue throughout the course of the year, so I have no knowledge there, but it would be a great matchup for sure to see him. And he's played more games than any other point in his career, and I think that's part of the MVP debate because I think in years past, resting and making sure that his body was whole was part of the reason maybe he didn't garner some votes. But I think, the thing with Embiid, and again, I echo the sentiments of our coach last week was talking about, you don't have to knock other guys down. These guys are all unbelievable talents in terms of anybody in the conversation and really league-wide. But at this level, all these guys are terrific. I think Embiid, though, the defense and the force that he brings to that end of the court, how he affects the game in the lane around the basket, and numbers would bear that out, are really important. He hunts down guys and blocks shots and alters so many shots. So, he's literally a rim protector, and you see it, a dozen times a week, and that is he's agile enough at 7 feet to go over there and curtail a driver and then get back to the guy he's supposed to guard and contest his shot at the rim. That's effort, that's skill, that's an incredible talent. That's part of, I think, his package. And, his ability to shoot and the way they put him now at the nail around the elbows and see the defense, his passing is better. And, he can get a basket pretty much at any time. And if you double him, which everybody does, he's able to find the open guy. So he's, to me, I would hope for him that he is able to validate all of this with what ends up being, the most valuable player award.
Yeah, with all that being said,
I think he's looking for more too. Go ahead.
Sorry, no. With all that said, tell him he can take the night off. Warriors need this win. You know what I mean? You got what I'm talking about? All right, so James Harden, you bring his name up around these parts, and Warrior fans don't have much love for James Harden. Have Sixers fans embraced him? Because he's a very controversial dude.
Yeah, I don't know where the controversy. I don't understand that part.
Well, it's the style of play. It's some of the off the court stuff. It's the crying and complaining, similar to Luka with the officials. Like, I do think he can be an acquired taste for fan bases.
No, okay. Now I get you. Look, during that period when with the leaning and the foul, like he played that as well as any player ever. Mm-hmm. And you could argue in that 2018 segment right there, he's one of the most gifted offensive players ever in the sport. Mm-hmm. And that, he had like a 50-point triple-double against us when he was with the Rockets, and they dominated them. So I understand that, but when it's one of these things, like you always hear the coaches say, "Hey, well, we got the guy in our gym. We found out ... Well, with Harden, he's obviously the part of that offensive arsenal is tapered off because of his age. And the other part is that's not what he's being required to do, because you got Embiid, but he's an incredible playmaker. And I mean, just look at his numbers. He leads the league in assists.
Yeah. And
the efficiency with he and Embiid and the middle pick and roll is incredible. Like, he's not blowing by people, but he's still got this knack and a savvy to be able to score. He's been, I think, Philadelphia fans have embraced him because he's still one of the best basketball players in the game. And, his production and everything is pretty much hinged a lot into how far we go. And he's been sensational, that's for sure.
No doubt about that. Tom McGinnis, a longtime Sixers radio play-by-play voice. He's been doing this since 1995. Real quick, before we get back into the Sixers, because I do want to ask you about Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. Are you still rolling solo on the radio, Tom?
I do the games by myself. Yep.
So how do you bring up, because you're very even keel right now, very composed, but when you get on the air, it sounds like you have 5 cups of coffee. You sound like my partner here, Joe Shasky.
Yeah, no, it's part of a passion born out of a love for the game. When I was a little kid, I grew up around Chicago and going to the stadium. This is pre-Michael Jordan. In fact, we were just there. And I was speaking with Al Danabi and saying, this is where, and I grew up 100 miles from Chicago. So going to the games, it wasn't like we just drove 15 minutes or whatever. It was like a big deal. And my dad took me, and I would be there, and I would sneak over the hockey boards and go out there and rebound. And it just and then I was a basketball player all through. I played college basketball and whatnot. So I just love the game. And then when I see these guys and I realize what goes involved in the skill level of NBA basketball, it's really born out of an excitement and an appreciation for the talent that we get to watch, the competition and being around the sport. And that's what I do. Like, if I were to show up at 7 o'clock and be kind of milk toasty and quiet, that's not my deal. It's part of its entertainment. But it's all real. And, as far as doing the games by yourself, I realize the two persons and the dialogue and the expertise, these guys that do the games that played, they're experts just by waking up in the morning, So, but part of it is I've been around it so much, and I know there's so many storylines that I think you bring a lot to the table, to the game with all the different things that are going on. And, I've found a way to be able to do both. And it's been a treat. I never take it for granted. And I love it as much today as I did all those years ago.
All right, Tom, laugh a little here. So what's going to happen with Doc Rivers tonight when he's at the game? Is he going to lose his voice?
Doc Rivers is unreal. Like anybody that, because it came up over the last couple of years, and we're exactly the same age, okay? So our life arc is very similar, and yet his experiences are vastly different than mine. And one thing that I remember him as a player both at Marquette and then as an early player, as it turned out, I was working in Charleston, South Carolina, when they would have training camps there. And just the fire and the fight and the competitive, all these guys, all these coaches. I love the coaches. I spend more time around the coaches than I do the players, primarily just because of age and the way things work and whatnot. But, man, he's unbelievable.
Tom.
We're 6 games away, he is, from becoming the 8th all-time winningest coach. And if we win some of these games down the stretch, he's going to pass Larry Brown.
Wow.
I've just been amazed at his competitiveness and how he breathes that fire into our team. Look at our record over the last 3 years since he got there. And now, like I say, they want to pay it off with a trip to the finals.
So obviously you have a sentimental attachment as a human and as a friend to Doc and a coworker, a colleague. How do you balance the criticism that he receives for coming up short, or at least his teams do? I know he's not the one out there playing, because I think a lot of people around the country associate Doc with underperforming in the playoffs. As someone who is close to him, what is your pushback on that?
Well, pretty much what I was just stating. Like, and again, this is a business where it's wins and losses, and the regular season is terrific. But if we're healthy, we have just as good a shot as anybody. That's what I'm saying. I get the Clippers lost to Denver and this game and that game. Like we lost to Atlanta 2 years ago in the playoffs. You could certainly, if you're going to be a critical like that would be an element. Like we probably should have won that series. We lost in the seventh game. But I don't see any of it. Like I watched the preparation. Like I don't see. And first of all, oh by the way, I'm the house organ. Okay, so I'm playing the company tune, so you're not going to hear it from me. But I don't see it anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's been different things. The reason we haven't won, but to me, it's not the coach. That's for sure. Like he's among the best ever to do it. I'm kind of a little shocked that he's not in the Hall of Fame already, but. Look, like what I see from him is, like I said, the competitive. Like I watched him when he coached Orlando, and he won Coach of the Year with a 500 team that had Jacques Vaughn and Chucky Atkins and whatever. And like he's unbelievable in my opinion.
Tom McGinnis, the longtime voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, been doing this since 1995. All right, we're back to the team on the floor. Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris. I feel like those two guys are the big X factors for you. They play well. You guys may end up in the NBA Finals. How's Tobias been this year? Tyrese Maxey, we know he's a jolt of energy. But those two guys, it feels like, yes, Embiid's going to do his thing, and Harden's going to do what he does on the floor. P.J. Tucker's going to play hard-nosed defense. But if those two guys don't show up, I'm not sure you guys could get past Boston and Milwaukee.
No, they're very important players, right? Or it could be Boston. You're absolutely right. And Tobias has had his moments. He's had his ups and his downs. Maxey's been incredible. Like you say, Maxey, he finds a gap and drives it, and he's able to hit deep threes. His defense has been better. In fact, you mentioned Tucker. There was a game recently at home where Maxey did a great job fighting over screens and staying on his guy, and Tucker in front of the whole team, like, called him out in the good way, like, okay, like, now we know. And, like, we expect it now. Tucker's been unbelievable. You look at Tucker, and he's been a winner through and through. He's been a tremendous addition. The guy we haven't mentioned is DeAnthony Melton.
Yeah.
He's the same. He's been fantastic.
That was a sneaky trade,
Tom. The other night, stepped in with no Harden. All of a sudden, he's running the pick and rolls with Joel. And he had almost a triple-double. So, he, his role was changed. More of a catch-and-shoot corner guy. And, like, for the most part, because of Harden and the spacing and whatnot. But you're right. We need all those guys. Yeah. We're not so dominant that we can just roll out. We need everybody to be clipping at a high level and for us to compete for a championship. And I think everybody knows that. And when we move the ball and play like that, we're one of those teams that are in the mix. All
right, DeAnthony Melton, I'm glad you brought him up. That was a sneaky trade. I don't understand why the Memphis Grizzlies moved him, because he's a very good defender. We'll probably see him on Steph at times tonight here at Chase Center. So what's your thoughts about the Warriors from afar? I know you guys saw him earlier this season. DiVincenzo had the 5 threes in the first quarter, but you guys were able to win that basketball game. What's been your impression of the Warriors this year coming off the championship?
Well, I mean, just from afar, the splits in terms of the home and the road, that's really unusual. But here we are, in San Francisco. So look, it's still like to watch Curry, that never gets old. And I'm a huge fan of Steve Kerr and the Warriors. So this would be like, for us, this is a huge, they're all big, especially down the stretch. We've got a torrid schedule with the road and the teams. And this is yet another one. But if the Sixers were any way to win this game, that I get the 50th victory. Oh, and by the way, for a reward, we'll see you in Phoenix tomorrow night. So, and then Denver on this trip. But no, the Warriors are, if they can get right and get healthy and get Wick back, look out. Because, it's a team with a lot of, shall we say, like, experience and championship pedigree. You know the drill. So, no, this is one of those games where you come here and this is a real treat. It's exciting.
Real quick, how do the East Coast fans do they enjoy when the Sixers go on the road? Because it feels like here at Chase Center, when Boston comes to town, when the Knicks come to town, when the Sixers come to town, you see all those East Coast fans in here, and it's a lively event. It's a lively atmosphere. How do you guys enjoy coming to the West Coast?
I've seen a lot of that, really, over the recent years. It's amazing, like in terms of gear and merch in the stands with Sixers fans. no doubt. Like some of these games, like in Charlotte the other night, it was a joke. It was like there was more Sixers fans at the game than Charlotte fans, and that's what happens with winning, right? You see that all across, and Philadelphia has obviously a huge fan base, and the home record there for the Sixers has been they've had a sellout streak that matches pretty much in recent years any team. So no, it's all important. It's been a tremendous year, but again, you want to get to where you need to go, and it's all going to be impinged on April, May, and hopefully June.
No doubt. Surprised they haven't made it past the second round, Sasky, since Iverson was there. They've had some really, really good teams. Tom, thanks for waking up this morning
Tom.
and getting on the air with us. We'll say hi tonight at Chase Center.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Tom McGinnis, the Sixers radio play-by-play voice since 1995. You got